I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be. Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and Jim Reed and the lovely Robyn LaVassaur, and we are coming to you today with a super cool topic that the three of us, along with a lot of our coworkers, taught at Next Level Coaching.
Hold on, Rick. That's not true. You taught it.
Well, I taught it.
Hold on. You taught it, and I never heard it said the way you said it. And I
Okay.
think it was one of the best things I've heard you say in a long time. And it helped me because I get overwhelmed by long-term vision, and step by step makes it possible for a guy like me, a blue-collar guy like me. So give yourself some credit, brother.
Okay. Thank you. So anyway, it made a big impact, and we thought we would share it and brainstorm it. So this is about being mission focused. So let's forget about mission, vision, 10-year goals, all this stuff. Let's forget about all that for a second. Here's how I've always thought about it. And I want to bring us all back to grade school, because this will apply to all of us. In grade school, we're trying to graduate 8th grade so that we can get into
high school.
That's the mission. That's what mom and dad talk about. That's what you think of. You get into high school and you're like, well, one of two things happen after high school. I'm going to graduate. The mission is graduate high school so that I can do one of two things. What are those two things?
Go to college or be above.
Go to college or get a good job doing something.
Yeah,
okay?
Employment.
No judgment, right? Different things.
Yeah, military, trade school, or college.
Yep. Let's say it's college. So we go to college, and then our mission is we're gonna graduate college. And then let's say you take that path. Then the mission is find your calling, like find your job, find your career path. And sometimes it takes 2-3 tries, right? Some people get it right the first time, but it's very obvious that that's the mission for that person. Okay. Then something happened to me when I remember I was 30 years old, 30. I had the career. I had been in that career for 7 or 8 years. And then Robyn, the guys called me on a Friday night and said, do you want to go out to the bars? Because that's what we did every Friday night. And I said, no. And I went out to my veranda with a beer, and I decided a new mission. What was that mission?
Find a wife.
Find a wife. I'm just like, I'm done with this single life. I want to pop out some babies and fall in love. Okay.
Yeah.
So then my mission was I got married. So I found, literally 3 months later, I found my wife. So then you get a wife, and then Jimmy, what becomes the next mission?
Have children.
Huh?
Children.
Let's have some babies. And we came home pregnant for a honeymoon, pregnant.
I remember.
So we got the babies. Actually had 3 of them. Okay?
Yeah.
Two natural and 1 adopted. Okay. Now, here's where the trouble comes in. We're about 40-ish years old, and we stopped setting missions.
Oh, it's the biggest mistake I've ever made.
So work with me for a second. There's lots of missions. Maybe we'll brainstorm a couple. One of the missions for me personally, Jimmy and I were working together, and I remember standing up in front of the branch. We had 1 branch back then. I'm like, we're going to close 250 loans in a month. That was a mission. We made posters, and Jimmy thought we would never do it. I didn't find that out till later. And one day we did it. I don't know, it was a year later or a year and a half or 9 months. I can't remember, but we accomplished the mission. And then I set a new mission, and it was 500. Okay. Now, let's not get lost in Todd's story. The mission might be, I'm a therapist now. I want to teach in college. I'm going to go get my master's, and it's going to take me 2 years. So my mission is to get my master's degree. It could be, I am working in mortgage and I'm a processor, and 3 years from now, I want to become an underwriter. Okay. I'm going to tell you, I work on 3 missions at a time. 2 are personal and 1's business.
Not everybody should do that.
Like
3 is a lot. Like one or 2. Dude, you're a super freak. Like how many people you know, like have owned, how many business you've had, done what you've done. I just sometimes wonder, like, there's a danger of feeling like a failure. I think
Ah,
always having a mission is valuable. And depending on the person, it can be more than a mission, but there should never be no mission.
okay. Yes, I can buy into that. So at least one mission. Um, I'll just tell you mine currently. I'm 54 years old. My kids are 14, 18, and 20. So one's about my kids. I got divorced 7 years ago. I've been in a 2-year serious relationship. I have a mission for that. And then my third mission in business. So I'll articulate all three. In business, it's simple. Have 500 loan officers that average 10 loans a month. Now, this particular recording is being sent to branch managers. It's being sent to our past clients, which is about 220,000 people, and realtors, okay, that do business with Summit. Thank you for all your business, by the way. And that's never been done in mortgage. And so that's all I think about. Like, that's my number one thought every single day. There's a poster above my head that says it. And I just think about it. And so that's why I started Jolt. That's why what I do, what that causes me to do is a bunch of other sub projects. But that's the mission, is someday, there's not even a timeline to it. Someday we're going to have 500 loan officers averaging 10 loans a month. Okay. That's just what I want to do.
I want to jump in. I want to share with you because you're bringing back a memory I haven't thought of in forever, and I want to do it now before you keep going. I want, like, maybe Robyn can too, a mission that happened in your life that helped you correct course. So when I moved from Connecticut to California, I moved from a town that was super, super small and was not diverse, to a small town called Gilroy, which is extremely diverse. And I was drifting. I was floundering, and my grandma, my Gigi, who it was a special lady, had her husband's name was George, and George was kind of a weird cat. But one day he grabbed me by my ear, literally sat me down, and said, "What are you working on? What are you doing?" And I'm like, looking at, I'm like an 8th grader, dude. I'm like, I just like that. Like, he's like, "Man, you got to figure out what you're doing." He told me, "You got to figure out what you're doing. You got to figure out who you are. You got to figure out where you're going. What do you want to be?" I'm like, all these heavy things. He's like, "Where do you fit?" It was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because he made me think about pursuing something. And that's what he ended the conversation with. Like, what are you pursuing? Are you going to be a good student? Are you going to be a good athlete? Are you going to be a good Boy Scout? Like, what are you going to be good at? Is the way he ended the conversation. And so that was his way of telling me, you don't have a mission, dude. And it's obvious to everybody that loves you. So get a mission. And I got one. And what I got doesn't matter. And if I was successful is not the point. But I remember that helped me become, like, instead of, like, what I'm trying to say is, if I hadn't done that, I would have followed the wrong people, right? I chose something and pursued it. Whether I was successful or not, honestly, I'm not sure it matters. But I had a mission that I was following, and it was so important to my trajectory. Like, this mission thing that you are articulating, bro, is so powerful.
Yeah, just to finish that story so people aren't wondering, you decided to throw yourself into track and got really good at track. And I will tell you, being your best friend, that shaped you as much as anything else in your life.
100%.
All the stories that you have from that experience, all your coaches, all your
mentors, my successes, my failures, my things I overcame, gave me confidence, all those things. It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you pursue something.
Yes. So here's the big point. And this is where people, like, when people set goals, they set goals like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Here's the point of a mission. Whatever you choose, it's actually the only critical part, is that when you read it, it fills you with passion. When you read it, you're not whipping yourself to death to do it. You're like, oh, I'm going to get my master's degree in psychology. That's exciting to me. If it does that to you, that's the mission.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I'm retired. I want to visit 10 countries in 2 years. And you read it and you're like, shit, yeah, where are we going? Right? And it excites you like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're not showing up late and leaving early.
Yeah.
Like you're coming in early and staying way after.
Yes.
Yes.
So here's a couple more metrics, and I want Jim and Robyn to go off. It fills you with passion. You're willing to work on it for 3 or more years. And you're willing to put 1 to 3 hours a day into that mission. I don't mean your work like work is 8 hours a day, right? But like, I'll give an example for me quick. As part of my mission of growing the business, I'm writing a book about sales. I started writing the book 4 Saturdays ago. I wrote 122 pages in 6 hours. Now, I could have played golf during that 6 hours on a Saturday. I would rather write the book. That's the passion piece. Okay? So if it fills you with passion, you're willing to work on it for 3 or more years, you're willing to work on the skill development to accomplishment 1 to 3 hours a day, and on your own private time, you got it right when you have those ingredients. So it's a very singular focus in a certain area of life. So Robyn, give me your thoughts because I'm very curious.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, when you initially talked about this, I went back and thought to myself, what missions have I been on? I don't know if you guys did that, but you really start to be able to reflect like, hey, what have I chased, before? And here's what I realized. I think sometimes we attach the word passion with fun. It's not always true, right? Sometimes it's I think sometimes we think like passion, like, oh, I'm passionate about travel. You know what I mean? Like, I love to travel. Like, and so one of the
talking to my wife.
Yeah. So people are like, let's go do all the fun pieces. Well, no, it's the mission, if you will. What I've realized for me was, hey, understanding the mission that I'm on and what the outcome is. Sometimes it's not necessarily something fun, but it is something that I am committed to achieving. And I'll give you an example of that. Like my husband and I've talked about it before, we short sailed a house. We had to move our kids literally towards the end of the school year. I remember panicking about where we were going to live. We're a big family. Where you find a home that, has at least 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and we, rent that works in a school district that we wanted to be in. And I remember like literally panicking about it. The moment we found that rental, my mission was to rebuild our credit, pay off our debt, and ultimately buy a home again that created stability for my children, right? Like it was it was something, and then rebuild, have savings for the first time in our lives, like learn financial freedom. So lots of little pieces went into the ultimate mission, but the mission for me in that moment was to buy a home again, was to become a homeowner again. Now I knew it would take time. In order to do that, I had to make income. I had to save money. I had to, there were a lot of things that played into the mission, but the biggest mission was I wanted to buy a house again. I wanted to buy the house again. And
right away.
Right? Like I wanted to find a way to buy the darn house. And if you would have told me fast forward, this is all within the 14-year journey at Summit, that we would one day build a home, right? From 14 years ago, if I could have seen that mission then led to another mission that gave me belief in another mission, because when you achieve those missions, you start to say, okay, now what, right? And you're not wrong. I think a lot of people, people call it a midlife crisis. I think it happens different for everybody. One of the profound things you said at the beginning was we get to our 40s, especially I think if we've either been ultra frustrated and or achieved a lot of success, and we lose our mission minds, right? Sometimes we lose that, like, what am I after? I think about, both you and Jimmy, Jimmy was on a mission to marry Ann, like be in a relationship with his wife and have a beautiful, beautiful blended family that way. And I know that mission for you, Jimmy, because I got to be present for it. And I knew you were on the mission, right? You chased big time. Is probably the number one thing for a while that of anything that you were doing.
Use all my skills.
It's and so I look at that now, Todd, and I'm like, there's some of my missions that I realize I now had were little. Some have been very big, right? Changed the trajectory of them. I went on a mission to help pay my parents' bills. I knew that they weren't in a position where they could do that. And that became a huge mission for me was, can I set aside essentially $3,000 a month for my mom and dad and still meet all my other goals? Can I do it? And that became a mission. It drove me picking up the phone. It drove me coming to the office. Everything about it said, hey, this is something I want to achieve. And so I think we get lost sometimes. And if it's only, you said business, a lot of mine end up tethering to a personal goal that then drives the business. A lot of my missions. Now, I also wanted to be I want to be top 3 in Summit. I still have a sheet that says it, top 3 in Summit. Different things like that. I want to be number 1 in Lane County. That was a big one. 400 units a year. That was one. I could break down so many over the years that we've had some really fast and some took a lot. 400. That was our mission for 3+ years before we hit it.
I want to interject for just a second. Those are great examples. We decided to do this podcast and send it out to a lot of different people. I'm talking in context of some, people that are really passionate about business. A lot of people are not, but that doesn't matter. So, let's say that every church that has been started from some man or woman that woke up one day and said, I'm going to start a church. I'm going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right. So every nonprofit started that way. So it does not have this big mission we're talking about. We're talking about a lot in business context because a lot of our audience are business people, but don't get caught up in, I don't have a business mission. It's fine just to make good income and have passions that are, it took me a long time to understand. I used to think people who didn't want to make a lot of money are crazy, but I don't feel that way at all anymore. Some of the happiest people I know in life aren't the biggest income earners at all.
Well, to echo that, dude. Like one of my missions is to be the best. Well, for sure. Once I decided that I wanted to marry Ann, one of my missions and still is to be the best spouse I can be, to be a better spouse.
Yeah.
And because I feel like if my mission is to be a better spouse, and I think about that and I put that first, then whatever happens after that, I can totally live with myself. But not to mention, if I'm pursuing that, I'm probably going to get what I want. The second thing, and it's probably in this order, frankly, because I struggled with the order of this for a while in my life, is my mission is to be a better dad. Right? And being a dad, there's a difference between being a loving dad and being a good dad. Right? And I struggled with it I unfortunately got divorced also. And it can mess you up in terms of who you want to show up as a father. Because selfishly, what I want is to spend time with my children, to have them like me. But that's not the same thing as being a good dad. So my mission is to know the difference between being a loving father and being a good father. And it's a journey and it's a struggle. But just to echo your point, I pursue those things as well. And I think that if you don't have missions in each one of those places, work, your spouse, and your family, if you were going to have 3, you would put 1 for each. And you'd make sure they were in order. For me, my order is husband first, father second, work third. Now, it's a small fractional difference. I pursue both with vigor and anger. And I pursue. So, don't. I think it's a mistake when people say, "Well, I'm just focused on family, so it's okay if I suck at my job." No, it's not. You can be great at all 3.
Yes.
As long as you have a mission for all 3, and and you make sure that the people in your life know who comes first and why. If I put my children before my wife, is that a good father? It's really not.
No,
really not. In the moment, it's a loving father. But it's not a good father. So I just wanted to echo that for you.
Well, a couple of comments just to know how this shapes different people. First of all, Jim, you're a great father, and I really, you're one of the men that I emulate in that area. So I think that's it's always interesting hearing you say that, but that's a focus for you and you've really focused on it. And it's not been easy and it's been a long-term focus.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how this shapes me. And this is a silly story, but I caught myself. This is last Thursday. I'm going over to Adrian's house. She said, hey, come over for dinner. Pick up a loaf of French bread for dinner. The day before, she told me that her favorite ice cream is banana ice cream.
Ooh, with chocolate syrup. Mine too. It's so good.
I never
Fresh
had it.
banana ice cream.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I never knew even banana ice cream existed, but I remembered in the moment because one of my missions, like Jim's, is to have the best loving relationship ever. Okay. So if you were to know me and like these two do 10 years ago, remembering what my wife wanted at the grocery store, wouldn't have thought about it, wouldn't have cared. I know it's hard for me to say, but I wouldn't have cared.
Ooh, stings.
So it does, these missions change how you feel and how you act. And when you have passion around it, it's like, wow. And it can be, like I said, you can have 3. I don't think you can have more than 3, but for sure 1. And I would do 1 for each area that you really like, that you're passionate about. I'm passionate about my kids. I'm passionate about my love life, and I'm passionate about work. It's easy for me. I'm a okay golfer. I'm a okay guitar player. Like I have a bunch of other things I do, but it's not. I was reading. I'm part of this masterclass. By the way, that app is great. It's $10 a month. Masterclass.
What is it?
It's Mark Cuban started this thing called Masterclass, and he's got all these accomplished people that put on like 2-3 hour seminars about what they do. So this weekend, I'm traveling to LA. I watch about 2.5 hours of masterclass of a famous guitarist, rock guitarist. I forgot the band. Anyway, I love this guy. So this guy's on the masterclass, and he's all, look at, if you want to be a great guitarist, I'm just telling you what it takes. This is a section called practice. He says, I practiced 8 hours a day for 10 years.
Yeah.
What? Huh.
Yeah.
That's
Next, I don't have 8 hours a day to become a really good guitarist, but
next.
he loved, like this guy's passion was so obvious. He's like 50 years old now.
Yeah.
And he's been playing in very successful rock band. Gosh, I forgot the name of it. Anyway, it's a very popular band. And he's passionate about it. He's 50 years old, doing a 3-hour class on Mark Cuban's app and just knocked it out of the water. But then when he said he got to practice 8 hours a day playing guitar, I'm like, my fingers would fall off, and I'm not that into it. I just want to go up there and tinkle a little bit, have some fun. Okay. Robyn, you love singing. You're actually a very good singer. But if you wanted to like be a superstar and play in a successful band, you'd probably have to practice 4 hours a day.
100%. And my parents told me when I was very young, I was not making it on Star Search. So that's it. Luckily I came to mortgage instead.
I'd say it's worked out pretty good.
It's worked out pretty well. Yeah. But I'll sing on the side. I'll karaoke it up. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, having a mission is, if you don't have one, spend some thought with it, right? Spend some time, write down some things. And like you said, it should be something that you're like, yeah, I want that. I need that. I'm committed to that happening. And man, once you get mission filled, it should be able to drive everything else around you towards achieving that mission.
There's a famous song that Jim and I love. He plays it on his boat all the time. And if you don't know Jim's boat, he's got like $20,000 studios, like thumping bass and all this.
Smile.
But what's that song I love about the guy goes from black and white to seeing in color?
It's called Color.
Color.
It's called In Color. It's a country
song.
Color.
You should have seen it in color. It's a country song. You should have seen it in color.
You should have seen it in color. So
really
that's
good.
what this does. Like the song's about him seeing black and white, and all of a sudden he sees life in color. How many people, just to close this out, think about how many people you know, and they're 40, 50, 60 years old, and they are bored.
Lost.
Like you never see them like, hey, what's going on, buddy?
Mhm.
They're like,
It'll happen to you if you let it.
huh?
It'll happen to you if you let it.
This is how to prevent that.
Good
Yep.
wrap up.
Good wrap up.
It's just, it fills your life with passion. So
Yep.
I love it. Jim, Robyn, thank you very much. I hope you guys appreciate this. If you liked it, please share it with someone. That's how this stuff gets to be known. And because we're doing this for 3 different segments of our audience, I want to say to the past clients, to the branch managers that we serve, and to the realtors that send us all of your business, we love you. And it's a blessing to be able to serve you every single day. It's what we're passionate about. It's why we keep doing this. And I'll tell you this, it never gets old getting someone into a house.
Never.
It never gets old saving someone $500 on their mortgage. Like,
Nope.
It just never gets old. It's such a fun business, and I appreciate you guys supporting it. So have a blessed month. Have a blessed week. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.